Welcome to the ANEW Body Insight Podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogrammed Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. And Chantal Donnelly, physical therapist and author of Settled, How to Find Calm in a Stress-Inducing World. We follow our guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us.
Hello, and welcome to the ANEW Body Insight Podcast.
I am Dr. Supatra Tovar.
And I am Chantal Donnelly. We are super excited. Today we have Jillian Beck-Rogers with us. And let's see, Jillian is a certified health and wellness coach, helping busy professionals overcome comfort eating habits and get their health back on track through personalized coaching. She's dedicated to helping folks find a healthier relationship with food and exercise so they have the energy they need to care for their families, work, and the other million things they have on their plate. Welcome, Jillian.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here and connect with you guys and your audience.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. We're so excited to learn more about you and learning about you. The research that I was doing, you used to be in the fashion industry.
Right.
I really want to know about your life during that time and what inspired you to transition out of that and into coaching, especially people who are struggling with comfort eating. What is your inspiration story?
Yeah, so I hit my breaking point years ago in an empty stairwell of a Times Square office building. It was New York City. It's 12:15 a.m. Yes, a.m. And there were silk pins all over the floor. And the photo shoot that I was assisting with had gone really, really late. And I was running back and forth between the 6th and 8th floors. And my hustling kind of caught up with me because I tripped on the stairs and I spilled all my sewing supplies all over the cold cement stairs. And all I was thinking about was I went to a good college and got a BFA in fashion design for this and lots of swear words, of course. And I loved my team and all the people that I worked with. Luckily, that part was not Devil Wears Prada. But I felt stagnant. I wasn't passionate about fashion the same way I was when I was 9, when I decided that's what I wanted to do.
Aww.
And I just, that was all I had ever thought about. That's what I worked towards. And now I was having this, existential crisis of what the heck am I going to do with my life? Because I can't imagine doing this till retirement. And, I knew that I was meant to do more than just run around like a crazy person in the name of polyester. And so my frustration often led to me, seeking comfort in afternoon coffee runs. It was, a way to satisfy my sugar and caffeine cravings and things like that. Some days I feel like those, $7 lattes and croissants were the only thing kind of getting me through the workday, and giving me something to look forward to. And it was, soothing. It was something fun to kind of break up the day. And, especially when I needed a distraction. But it really, it wasn't solving the problem, right? It wasn't solving the problem of what the heck am I going to do with my life? What change am I going to make? And, fast forward to the pandemic, I decided to just take a leap because, at that point it was like anything goes, right? And I decided I really wanted to put more good out into the world instead of just more stuff, which is often what I felt like I was doing in my role in fashion. And I looked at all the things I was really passionate about, that I actually cared about, that I wanted out of my life and my career, the impact that I wanted to make on other people. And I connected the dots with health coaching. And so fast forward, I got my certification and here we are. Now I just really like to help people with looking at, what it is they're actually craving, what is actually going to satisfy them and help them move the needle and not just use the food as the coping mechanism, really. It's what it is sometimes.
So important. It's very similar to the work that I do with my clients. So I know that, food just can become a crutch in a certain way, or it can become the coping mechanism for the deeper underlying issue. So I'm really glad that you've taken that route.
Yeah. I think it's leads to really interesting conversations too, when you dive deeper into that rather than just eat this, eat that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of people, most people are going to have a pretty messed up relationship with food and are going to have a hard time and really struggling with that relationship and trying to align it so that it's a friendlier relationship versus kind of dealing with an enemy. Was there something that you discovered when you were trying to get out of the fashion industry and start your new career? Was there something that really helped you that is now resonating with other people?
Yeah, I think this goes for any change. So this kind of helped me in starting my business, but also with the comfort eating. It's understanding how our brain works when we are trying to make changes in order to, not sabotage ourselves. So once I kind of understood that, our brains are wired to want to keep everything the same, everything very predictable and consistent, it kind of, in order to protect us, it's for a good reason, right? It helped me kind of understand those feelings of resistance better, which, comes up when you're changing your health habits. It comes up when starting a business. It comes up with any change you're making in your life. You're going to feel that resistance of wanting to go back to what's familiar to you. So, for example, if you're trying to stop, eating cookies on the couch at night, every single night in order to relax, and you're trying to become somebody who doesn't do that, but you've been doing that for your whole life, then you're naturally going to feel a lot of resistance, even though doing that it's going to make you probably, sleep better, have more energy, lose weight, all these things that you really, really want. They sound so amazing. And yet you can't figure out why you keep sabotaging your progress, even though these amazing things await you on the other side. It makes sense to know that your brain is just doing it to help you instead of you're just a failure. And so that primal part of your brain, pulls you back to the old habits where it's comfortable, even if those habits aren't necessarily serving you the best. And that primal part of your brain doesn't really care that those cookies are, making you gain weight or at risk for diabetes. It just knows that it's your fix to calm your nervous system and make you feel safe. That's what it's trying to do for you. Right. So if we can kind of thank that part of ourselves for serving us in that way and protecting us and making us feel better, we can kind of just move on and then reassure ourselves that, good upgrades are coming. These changes are okay. And I think it helps also when I remind my clients of that this is normal. This is not you failing. It's just a normal part of the process. Come to expect it. And I think that can help you to be less likely to sabotage yourself or derail yourself when those things kind of come up. So I think that was a big shift for me.
Yeah, that's such a self-compassionate way to go about it. And it really takes the shame out of it, which I think is how you end up eating the cookies on the couch after, even though it's part of the self-sabotage, right? It's you feel badly, the shame, and then you go back to the behavior.
Do it again.
Yeah.
It's an awful cycle, but yeah.
Yeah.
It does sound like it's a, process of talking to yourself. It's about trying to create and form some different habits because that's an ingrained habit. Tell us how your approach might differ from someone else's. What do you think that you do that helps people really, enact that change? Because behavior change is very hard if you're just kind of attacking it I want to stop this completely. Do you have a method that really resonates with your clients?
Yeah, I do have a method I kind of walk people through. And my big thing is I really try to look way beyond the food, right? Because it's not just about the food. A lot of people do have some idea to some extent of what they should be eating, right? We can kind of solve that to some extent with a Google search. But there's valid reasons why they're not doing it, which is the habit change like you just talked about. And I think it's really important to not just give people only more information or more things to do, but also looking at what they can do less of. And so I spend a lot of time with clients, especially the ones who are especially overwhelmed or in careers where they just feel bogged down by so much work that they just can't even handle one more like to do on their list. And so just really looking at what can we do less of? Where can we declutter in different areas of your life to make space for these new habits? Because if we just give you, eat more of this or drink more of this water, do more of these workouts, which are things that, I help people with, and we do those. But if you only do that and you don't take something away to make space for it, it's probably just never going to happen. So I think that's a key thing I really try to focus on. And then I'm also a very big believer in, something is better than nothing. I think a lot of people do share that, in common with me, but I do know some coaches or trainers and things who have more of that push, go, 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 more mentality. And it can be a lot like really hard and aggressive a little bit with their tactics. And that's not really my style. I really like to give that motivational push with a little bit more understanding, compassion, no judgment. And I had a mentor many, many years ago who had that aggressive style, and she would just, I think she meant well, but she would literally write an email back and berate me with a numbered list of all the things that I was doing wrong and just really cut deep. Like I had to show it to other people and be like, this isn't normal, right? But that was her style, and that worked for some people to really make their change. But for me, it felt very berating and belittling, and that was not motivating at all. So that really went against a lot of my morals and the impact that I wanted to have on people. So I try to approach helping people make really small, doable changes, even if at the time it doesn't feel like a lot to them, but doing it with a lot of compassion and understanding, because most of us are pretty hard on ourselves as it is, and we don't need more people to pile on top of it.
Absolutely. And I do think that small changes have been shown to be the way forward for lasting behavior change. Mm-hmm. Tell us how you help people make their goals small and achievable.
Yeah, I think it's also just reminding people to kind of back up a couple steps. So if they're like, I want to be exercising 5 times this week, like that's amazing. But if you are going from not doing anything or maybe going on a walk once in a blue moon, it's not very likely you're going to start doing that next week and stay consistent with it. Mm-hmm. So kind of just taking what they've said and maybe knocking it down a few times. Like, how about we aim for like twice this week? Can we stick with that? Or just doing like a small chunk of time. I have a trainer friend in the area who her whole thing is like 10-minute workouts. Like even if you can just do 10 minutes. And I love that because everyone wants to shoot for the moon or else they feel like they're not doing enough. But the point is to just get into the habit of doing those first couple of steps, right? Doing it. And then you can perfect it and add on to it the more normal it becomes to you. But yeah, just taking it and like putting it in a more bite-sized chunk.
Absolutely. And I think, I read a really great book. It's called Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg. I don't know if you've read that. It's really wonderful. But what he suggests is that people take the behavior that they want to learn and they attach it to what they call an anchoring behavior. So it's something that you've already, perform at the same time every day. Say it's like brushing your teeth or waking up in the morning. You attach the behavior to that. You make it as small as you possibly can make it so that it's something that you can do every day. And then you add like positive reinforcement for yourself afterwards to kind of give you that reinforcement to continue the behavior. And I think that works with a lot of people. And it sounds like that's something that you're implementing with your clients.
Yeah, I love that. I've heard it called like habit stacking too. It's like the thing that you already do. Like I had a client where I told her she wanted to just get moving a little bit more. And I was like, how about when you make your coffee in the morning, you do like 20 jumping jacks while it's brewing or something. She's like, yeah, I could do that. And one client was doing like push-ups and stuff. And it helped if she was just doing like brushing her teeth or something that you already do without thinking about it and just add something on. So yeah, I love that. it's a good
That's wonderful
mechanism.
Yeah, I love your approach because it has a softness to it. It's almost like the corners are nice and round versus sharp corners as to how you guide people. What happens and what I find is that people are so intense with changing their diet and changing exercise program, right? It's like this, we want to get on this wellness train and we're super, super intense about it. And that intensity brings on stress. And what does stress bring on? Sugar cravings, inflammation, possibility of getting injured when you exercise, like all the stuff that you don't want when you are starting this health journey. And so I love that you have this compassionate, soft approach and the incremental and just like, let's like just bite off little bits here. And then we can always grow. We can always get more aggressive later with our changes.
Yeah. And I think it's always that balance you're trying to strike, right? Where it's like, I'm not going to blow smoke up anyone's ass here. You know, we won't want to be too soft, but it's like, we are so hard on ourselves. And like you were talking about our nervous system, sometimes we do just need to get ourselves into that, parasympathetic nervous system state for us to, have an optimal metabolism and all these things that are, working us towards our goals. But, being a bully is not the best way to get that to happen.
Yeah, it sounds like you learned that the hard way with the bully.
Oh, she was the worst. Yeah.
Do you have a specific clientele that you work with, or you kind of work with everybody across the board? Or
I feel like I can help anyone kind of with that particular habit, but I will say the clients that I do help the most are those busy professional, mostly women. I mean, I can work with men, but they just happen to be more women. I think women can relate to that a little bit more, maybe. And they're often juggling, work and family. And many of my clients are, working on getting healthier so that they can either be healthy and strong enough to start a family, maybe add to their family. That's kind of a niche I've looked at exploring a little bit more because I really love that that intent behind wanting to get healthier and stronger rather than just I just want to lose weight. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think I can relate a little bit more to that type of client that's wanting to feel stronger and healthier to prepare their body for the next phase in their life.
right.
And then some clients already have kids and they're looking at it more from this perspective of, I want to set a healthier example for my kids. And, they were in that cycle of not having a good relationship with food and exercise their whole lives. And they just want to do better so that they don't struggle with the same things when they get older. And ultimately, I love working with these kind of clients because they're not just doing it for themselves. They understand that it's impacting other people in their lives. So
that's wonderful. And I think, mothers in particular tend to struggle with comfort eating or, eating off of their kid's plate if their kid doesn't finish their meal all the way.
I never did that. Never once did that, just for the record.
Good for you. But tell us how, what is your approach as far as, how do you help them develop better habits? What kinds of things do you promote in terms of diet and nutrition?
Yeah, I mean, really looking at, so I kind of start off with looking at what makes you feel the most energized. So not this one size fits all prescription of food, so to speak, or what I think is best for them, but really helping them look at it from a place of what gives me energy, what takes away my energy and makes me feel kind of meh later on, and honing in on those foods. And then really looking at mindfulness practices is what it is, kind of break down the hunger fullness cues and things like that. And other different exercises that help you to just be more in tune with your body and be able to trust your own intuition and gut to know what's best for you rather than us having to rely on a very strict diet or a meal plan. Because that's something I don't do, right? Can give suggestions and just, maybe try this and that, but you don't necessarily have to eat this specific way just because it works for this person.
That's exactly what I do with my clients as well. I think it's so important that people learn how to tune into their body And that's exactly what you're doing. You can tell after you've had a bag of potato chips, you know how your body feels. You know how your mouth feels.
Not
you
great.
know that you don't have great energy. And you know when you're eating something, say it's whole foods, maybe lots of vegetables and whole grains, things like that, you're energized. You can keep going for hours and hours on end. But if you are only listening to what the diet guru over here is telling you, you're never going to really tap into your body. So give us an idea of like how you if they've never been in their body, they've only just kind of been stuck up in their head. How do you help them get into their body? What do you do for mindfulness?
A couple of things. I mean, really helping them understand their hunger cues, which some people do have. I mean, maybe surprisingly, maybe this isn't surprising, but a hard time understanding what those hunger cues are. Because I think so much, we're so fast paced in everything that we're doing. We're not paying attention to how we feel, or we're paying attention to that hunger cue of I'm about to eat my arm off and I'm going to devour everything in sight. So it's more about, I guess, helping people figure out what their hunger cues are so that they can kind of plan for food and make better choices. And I think just helping them build awareness. I think that's what a lot of coaching sessions end up being. We may not like make the most profound like discoveries, but it's just understanding like, oh yeah, I do that. Or, oh yeah, like I am really stressed and that's leading to X, Y, and Z, or just kind of understanding what their patterns are, like what is triggering them to make certain decisions or make certain choices, and what the pattern is from there, I think is a lot of what's helping them discover. And then some other mindfulness practices, like simple things like breathing exercises and things like that. We talked about the nervous system. I think that's a big thing I really work on with clients is calming your nervous system, because that's the way you're going to get your digestion to work properly, right? Is calming yourself down, making better choices. So we're not just going to eat the bar of chocolate without even thinking about it. Those are a few things.
That's Chantal's forte there.
I mean, I love chocolate. There's no shame against chocolate, but
yeah, chocolate is my forte too. But calming the nervous system, I think, is what I like to combine chocolate and calming the nervous system.
Yes, I mean, why not? They go well together.
So your clients are mainly women. You have occasional men in there as well. Is there a particular age demographic, or is it just women of all ages?
Generally, I'd say like 35, 40 to 65. There can be like a little bit of a range. That's generally around the age, I would say. But.
And do you find that they have particular things from their past or their childhood that may have led them toward comfort eating? Do you go into their history?
Yeah. I mean, granted, I'm not a psychologist, right? So, but I think it's worth just knowing where some of those things come from, right? It comes up as to, where are these thoughts around food stemming from? Because I think that takes the shame out of it. It's just like, there's a reason for it. This isn't that you're just a gluttonous failure or something like that. It's because your parents fed you these certain foods, or, you had comfort around it when you were little. I do have a client I've been working with for like a couple of years now where she, had like a whole like binging kind of history. And it did stem from her parents had a very strict, unhealthy kind of way with food, but in a different way growing up. And that kind of impacted her in the opposite way. And and I think helping, having her kind of understand where that came from made so much more sense for her to switch her behaviors around it and make better choices. So now it's like not an issue for her at all. But yeah, I think it is important to know where those come from, because they are rooted in our past in some way. And I noticed that for myself too. I mean, I grew up where I had to have like dessert with every meal because, my parents were very much that way and still are. And I still love dessert. Like there's no shame around it, but it's like the day's not done until I've had my dessert. Like that was just always the mentality, or, always rewarding with like, let's go and get this treat, and wanting it to always be over the top, and just knowing when you're older, like, oh, it doesn't have to be that way. I'm still going to belong with my family and still be able to have fun and still be able to celebrate, even if it's not in that exact way with that exact food. And I think understanding kind of helps change all of that, right?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Well, we're almost out of time for this part of this episode.
Yes, thank you for joining us, and tune in next week for the second half of this thought-provoking interview with Jillian Beck-Rogers.
Thanks for tuning into the ANEW Body Insight Podcast. Please remember, the content shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anew.insight and at anew-insight.com under the ANEW Body Insight Podcast tab. Follow us on our socials at my.anew.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.